I did meet these guys. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Ace Frehley came up to my place. The drummer was leaving the band, so he was no longer part of their entourage. And it was, interesting to have like KISS come by, some 26-year-old kid's apartment who didn't even have furniture yet. They asked me to do a comic strip, but I had never really done comic strips before. So what I had to do was 13 paintings in 1 month. It seemed that Gene Simmons had a real knowledge of comic book art, and working with him gave you the joy of working with a smart client. And he just knew how to develop a theme, and that was fun because it doesn't always happen. On one of the panels, I had to do a picture of Gene walking into a restaurant, and supposedly the nuisance photographer, the paparazzi photographer, was gonna snag a picture of him on a date. And all of a sudden he says, "Hey, Gene," and Gene turns around and he has a bandana over his face. And what I did to create that panel was I had Gene in my apartment and we put a bandana around his face, and that's how I get the reference for that. That's where that photograph comes from. One of the things that I really like most about the guy who is the pesky reporter with the camera is that when we were designing him, we kept on thinking of his head being squeezed out of a tube. I always got a kick out of that. When I was working on the album cover, the art director who was in charge of overseeing my efforts told me that the drummer was leaving the group and that we should do something that signifies his departure. The drummer's departure was a big deal as far as the band's history goes. So he told me to come up with something. And what I came up with was the drummer, Peter Criss. I edited the painting and closed his eye. We took a photograph with my eyelids closed, and I used myself as a model. And when the painting came back, I painted a closed eye. On the album cover, his eyes are open. On the poster, his eyes are closed. And on the side of Peter Criss's head, because he's a cat, I thought, oh, I'll put fish bones in his hair. I think one of the things that makes this valuable is that the original posters and album covers really are hard to find. The original posters came inside the album covers and they were folded. People ask me if I'm happy with the artwork, and I don't think there's anything I would change on it. I just think it's really perfect and really represents a moment in time.